Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'll be doing a solo playthrough of Voidfall. So in this video, I'm going to play this scenario in One for All, and I'm playing on hard mode using House Fenrax Origin A carriers. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am all set up to play in One for All. This is scenario 2 in the Voidfall Compendium, obviously playing solo. I'm playing on hard mode today, so I had room. I put way up there, I put the little reminder card for hard mode so you can kind of see what's coming up in terms of the different alert cards. And by request, I am playing Fenrax A, which is carriers. I've already done my setup, but here's the origin card if you want to take a look at it. And then this is, at time of recording, my 30th Voidfall video on this channel between solo playthroughs and rules videos and unboxings and Etsy showcases and all that sort of stuff. So I've got quite a bit of Voidfall content. If you're new, then welcome. But if you've been here for all of that and you've seen all this, I'm gonna try and make this video a little bit longer, not a lot longer, but a little bit, because I'm going to try and talk maybe a little bit more in depth about some of the strategies that I'm considering as I'm playing. So a lot of that decision making is usually in my head, even though I try my best to kind of narrate what's going on. But I'm going to make an effort to talk out loud a little bit more about some of the long-term strategic decisions I make. So with that in mind, I'll start with the setup information like I normally do, and then I'll give a short strategic overview. I'll make that its own chapter in this video about sort of what my plans are going into this mission, and then I'll get started. So in terms of setup, like I said, I'm starting with carriers. I've got Fenrax, and that was by request. So if you've got a request, let me know in the comments. I've got a couple more houses that I haven't played with solo playthroughs on this channel. I've obviously played with all the houses a number of times, but I need to get a Novarchs video up and I believe a Belatan video. But if there's certain things you want to see, let me know. And then as usual, as I briefly mentioned, I've got an Etsy store that I co-own with some friends. We make premium board game pieces, and you're going to see a lot of those today. So in this video, that's going to be tokens for installations, these glory tokens, guild tokens, bounty and reclaim tokens, which I use a drawback system for, the fleet tokens, which are pretty sweet, as well as the agenda and tech tray. And then we've got other stuff as well, organizers and storage solution type stuff. So you can find a link in the description to Brain Bucket Games if you're interested in any of that. But as I said, playing on hard mode, the text that I drew, we've got houses Nervo, Novarchs, Cheveus, and Xenor. And so there's a lot of possibilities with Cheveus and Xenor in particular with dreadnoughts and destroyers. So there's a lot of fleet types in the video, but because this playthrough was requested and specifically to see carriers in action, I'm going to try and avoid using dreadnoughts and destroyers and just focus on carriers. So that's sort of the purpose of today's video. But, if I do get myself backed into a corner and a destroyer or a dreadnought tech would help me out of it, then, I guess I reserve the right to still take one of those cards. But otherwise, I'll try and focus on other things. So the level 0 crises I started with on the military track, I have 2 or more pure sectors with 4 or more population each. And on the economic track, have 8 or more total glory value. The fallen house is House Novarchs here. And the heroic focus cards, we've got Heroic Progress, Prosperity, and Development. And House Fenrax has a special development card, and then this unique card, Dispersal, which replaces Reinforcement. And can I tell you that after all this time, there was still a rule that I had missed, and I probably made some mistakes in past videos, and it definitely would have hurt me. But if you ever draw a heroic focus card, this is only for solo mode, it's only for the heroic cards. If you draw a heroic focus card that you do not have that card, so this is heroic reinforcement, Fenrax does not have reinforcement, they have dispersal. You discard it and redraw that card. So I had somehow missed that rule all this time. I just stumbled across it recently. I was like, oh my goodness, I've been, if I drew that card, I'd just be like, well, I guess I'm stuck. I can't use that one. So rather than wait to draw it and then discard it, I've just removed it from the deck at the beginning. But that's a small way that my life will be a little bit easier now. And I think that's about it for setup. So let's slot this starting agenda. We'll fix this Void Storm I bumped at some point. And let me talk a little bit about high-level strategy going into this level now. And maybe one place to start is with this starting agenda. So the three things that we can score on are, when it gets to the scoring part of the evaluation phase, whichever resource we have the least amount of in our stockpiles, we score 2 influence for each of that resource we have. Of the 3 scoring criteria on this card, I find that one to be the least important. That I might do like a slight amount of min-maxing in cycle 3 to score, 1 or 2 more resources, so 2 or 4 more points at the end of the game. But realistically, at the end of cycle 1 and potentially cycle 2, I'm going to have something with 0 in the stockpile and just not score it. The next scoring criteria is each sector, each pure sector that has 1 or more carrier fleets in it is worth 3 victory points. That one can be big. So what that's encouraging me to do is to spread out and take a lot of sectors and park a carrier in each one. And this particular map, that can work really well. So a few things that I noticed. One, let's assume that I hold on to this outpost and I don't lose it. If I can take this Fallen House sector, it is not adjacent to a Voidborn sector. It'd be adjacent to one of my own sectors and to this Survivors Colony, which can never be a Voidborn sector. So I could easily park a carrier here, and as long as it's pure, I'll score 3 influence for that every cycle. And then I could do the same thing by moving into this sector. Because the Voidborn can never be here, it can never be the target of a skirmish. So again, I can just park a carrier there, and this is a pure sector by default. I can choose to corrupt it or move corruption there through various game means. But again, another place to park a carrier and get some points. And similarly, same thing up here, just adjacent to my home sector, there's this asteroid belt, and it can never be a Voidborn sector. So I can move a carrier into there pretty easily, take the sector, leave the carrier there, and it remains a pure sector with a carrier, so that's great for scoring purposes. So this whole rim of the map here can be really strong for that scoring criteria. Now, one other thing I notice is that if I take all these rim sectors here, what I have not done is gotten anywhere near that rift or taken out any of the 4 harbingers. So, combined between the rift and the harbingers, that's 70 influence for the Voidborn that I got to figure out somehow, because I just don't think it's the case that I'll take every sector in the game. So I think one potential danger of this map is being a little focused on that rift. I know it is, it's 30 influence at the end of the game. It's like the single largest source of influence for the Voidborn on a per instance basis. So there's a lot of incentive. You kind of feel like you got to close the rift, and that feels like, it's on the opposite side of the map from your home sector. It kind of feels like the target, but that could be a little bit of a red herring. You don't want to sacrifice too much to get there. So I plan to take these outer sectors and either move up this way through this Genesis sector, or perhaps from here I can launch an attack this way. And in either case, try and grab those 2 sectors with harbingers, get them off the map because those are points. And then towards the end of cycle 3, if I happen to be in a position where I can close a rift, great. But I actually think that's pretty difficult with Fenrax A personally, at least doing what I've described where I'm trying to take all these other sectors and park carriers in them, because by the time we get to the end of the game, I'm going to have so many sectors, I'll be pretty spread out and probably won't have a lot of available fleet power left. So the carriers, when they attack, they can deploy more corvettes, but you must have active fleet power. And I think they'll be pretty tied up at that point. So it's a little doubtful that I'll have enough fleet power left to then get into the rift and be able to overcome the forces there. So I think a healthy mentality is, if I can do it, great, I'll try and get into that position, but I'm not going to base my whole strategy around closing the rift. Now, there are other ways you can approach this map, even with Fenrax A, and make your goal to close the rift, but that's not the way I'm playing, and I kind of want to stay on this outside part first for scoring purposes. Now, this third scoring criteria here is you just get 1 influence for every pure guild you have. So the other thing I want to do is load up all these sectors with guilds as much as possible. So these 3 in particular, I've got a lot of spots for guilds here. Obviously the home sector is not quite so much, nothing in the asteroid belt, but if I can load these up and hold them, keep them pure, if I get 3 guilds here and 3 guilds here and 3 here and a carrier in each, so long as they're pure, that's just from this 3 and 3 influence, so 6 influence per sector. So that's obviously quite a lot. If I can get this Genesis sector, there's a lot of motivation to get guilds down there as well and get the population up. There's a lot of incentive to sort of conquer these sectors and then fill them with guilds. So I'll be trying to do that and trying to maximize that as much as I can. Now the next thing is House Fenrax's special ability here. So the first step of the evaluation phase before you even resolve the crisis board is these are all optional, I suppose, but any pure sector you have with 2 or 1 population, you can gain 2 credits. Pure sectors with 3 population, you gain 1 credit. With 4 population, you gain 1 science. And with 5 or 6 population, you gain 2 science. And so if we look at House Fenrax's 2 special cards here, you'll notice on development, one card has a cost of decreasing a pure population, where another has an effect of increasing a pure population. And then on dispersal, this one has a cost of decreasing a pure population to increase 2 other pure populations. So there's this sort of little mini game around moving population around, and you can use that to gain credits in science, and that could be really significant in terms of production, especially considering that it happens before you have to resolve this economic track in the step 1 there of the evaluation phase. So this is really saying you don't want populations of 3 or 4. You want populations of 2 or less or 5 or more. That's where you're aiming for. And so you can decrease like a 3 to get it down to a 2, and then maybe increase a 4 somewhere else to get it up to a 5. So you kind of spread them out, and then you get as much credits in science as possible. So that's something we'll want to keep an eye on. And then if we take a look at the tracks, they're pretty interesting. So we've got 2 boosts. I don't remember what this is called. Advance, whatever this bonus is. You can get this statecraft track pretty high pretty quickly. But then 2 of them in a row are deploy to every shipyard, and that can be difficult to use back to back. That's really helpful if you have a lot of active fleet power and not many shipyards. But if you have a lot of shipyards, which don't forget carriers count as a shipyard when you deploy. So if you've got a bunch of carriers out there, you can usually clear out whatever your active fleet power is. And then if you advance again, if you haven't activated more fleet power, then you're going to miss out on some of that effectiveness. So you can theoretically advance this track pretty easily, but that bonus back-to-back can be tricky to time. On the other hand, this economic track has just got 1 of these advanced spaces, but I find this to be a really strong track, and I'll probably try and max this one. You can get a basic tech early on, putting down guilds is helpful, then a couple of trade tokens back-to-back with a corruption removal, and then points at the end obviously is great. And now let's compare these 2 cards to the cards they're replacing just for a moment, because it is important to know what you're losing as well. So the development card overall gets stronger. It gives you a lot more that you can do, and I just generally think it's stronger, but you do lose 1 corruption removal, so that's something to be aware of. But mostly this will let you get more things done. This dispersal replacing reinforcement is really critical though, because you're losing the ability to advance 1 track. And what you are gaining is a corruption removal. So it's really moving from development to dispersal. But by gaining dispersal, you can no longer pair it with this support agenda. So that's important to keep in mind. And I think it's just really critical to know that you're losing that track advance. So if we want to push these tracks, these 2 in particular, we're going to be playing a lot of prosperity and politics. And then the only other card we have access to that can increase any track is temptation. And so that obviously is going to come with the cost of gaining a corruption. So that's something to be aware of. So this reinforcement, this development go away. So we've really got to maintain focus on politics and prosperity if we want to push these tracks at all, just because of losing that reinforcement action. Now, in terms of the text that I drew, I already kind of talked about how I probably won't go after dreadnoughts or destroyers, and why. They're very good. They're a lot of fun to play with, and they're both pretty strong, especially I would say stronger than carriers towards the end of the game, at least in terms of offense. But what jumps out at me here are first arc ships jumps out at me, because then I can get more guilds on my home sector, which can make it easier to get those 6 population pure sectors with 3 or more guilds. So you can do that in a home sector where it's safe from being attacked, and that'll help fill out these safe havens. But then also, because the home sector cannot be corrupted for Fenrax, each of the guilds that you put there are going to score pretty well too. So arc ships can be really strong. And then I also see cybernetics here. So pairing arc ships and cybernetics is really cool. That's going to help me get some guilds down, and it's going to kind of run my economy, help me put off doing actual production. So between cybernetics and this Fenrax ability, I hope to not have to use production very often. And even though I intend to play prosperity a lot, maybe I don't have to take that middle supply action. I'd rather be bumping the economy track and gaining agendas. And then again, I mentioned you can push these tracks, and I would like to do that. So whenever I'm trying to get tracks up into the tier 3, tier 4 range, cloning is always great. That's a good one to go for. If I can get the improved cloning, which it looks like is going to be in cycle 3, which is good timing, then I won't have to deactivate fleet power. And I'm going to need fleet power. When I play with Fenrax A, I tend to have a lot of active fleet power, but it all ends up on the map, and then I don't want to have to recall and abandon sectors just to advance these tracks. And finally, decontamination chambers is really convenient too. That one is super strong. The improved version is so strong, but I tend to not grab it because I always want something else. But Fenrax doesn't have a lot of corruption management ability. If we just look at the tracks here, there's only 2 spots to remove corruption. There's usually more of them on this society track, but they're not really present. And I just don't think I'm going to push this track high enough to get up to that space anyway. So I'm going to need a way to manage corruption. I think decontamination chambers is it. And combat replicators as well can be really helpful, especially the improved version in the last cycle. When my fleet power starts getting low, specifically my active fleet power, my carriers lose that ability to deploy more corvettes if I don't have the active fleet power. And so that can lead to ties, and the improved combat replicators allows me to win a tie, basically. So that's something I want to keep an eye on too. So that's my starting place. I think we can actually start to play the game now. So I've already got my Cycle 1 event out here, but I haven't resolved it yet. So this is Looming Destiny. There's going to be 5 turns. And the first thing we need to do is add a reclaim token and a sector defense on one adjacent Voidborn sector. And so as I talked about some of the things I might do throughout this playthrough, kind of starting around the rim and then pushing maybe this way or possibly up this way. 2 sectors I did not mention at all are these 2. I don't have really a lot of interest or incentive to go there. So I'm going to pick this adjacent center and add a reclaim token. And these are just blank on the back, and then we'll use a draw bag to pull out a cardboard reclaim token if we ever get one. And then we need to add a sector defense. And again, these are double-sided too. I don't know if that's always clear in these videos, but here we go. All right, so we've done that. Now we need to add a corruption to the dominance agenda type. So that's going to go right here. And now I can choose to either activate a fleet power or deploy a fleet power. And I'm going to deploy. Oh, and that's to the home sector specifically. Okay, good to know. So what I'd like to do is deploy a carrier. I'd like to get another carrier out, but then by the end of my first focus, by the end of my first turn, I need to make sure there's only 2 fleet tokens on that sector. So I'm trying to decide. I can put a carrier on that home sector, but then I'll want to invade on turn 1. And that would definitely be doable. I would just invade from here, send a carrier up there, which would deploy a corvette, and then it would get lost to the sector defense, and then the carrier would remain, and I'd park it there the rest of the game. So that's certainly possible. I guess the other thing I could do is I could regroup, and then I can move a carrier to this sector, getting it ready to invade this one. So my attack cards would be my standard Conquest and my standard Politics, and then my regroup cards would be, looks like this Heroic Progress could do it, as well as standard Conquest. And I guess regular Progress can do it too, and Production. And so I think I will probably plan to attack on the first turn, which means I will deploy a carrier here. And these tokens are kind of neat as well. So basic carriers can only hold max of 1 fleet power per token, but then the improved ones can hold 3. So you take the token, flip it over. It's white like the improved tech symbol, so that side holds 3, the side holds 1. I just think that's neat. All right, so I'm going to deploy that there, send this active fleet power, and whenever I deploy a carrier, I need to spend 1 food. So I have 4 food, I go down to 3 now. And then my goals for this cycle, if I have 1 pure non-starting agenda, then I can build an installation. That's okay. I should have no problem getting an agenda down, but an installation's like, that's all right. But if I have 5 or more pure guilds, I can gain an agenda. That is what I want. I would like another agenda without having to do much work. And then the 5 pure guilds is something I kind of want to do anyway. So I've got enough turns to do that. So we'll put my improved tech here. Let's draw the first alert card. And it's a 2, so I need a level 2 crisis. And we have an economic crisis. This is scientific breakthrough. While resolving a progress focus, trigger a science overproduction. The immediate penalty is I could choose to skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power, and if I if I successfully defend, I've got to put down an installation in a Voidborn sector too. So skirmishing at +1 Voidborn fleet power is not great because I would skirmish right now at 1, 2 plus 1 is 3. If 3 Voidborn come in here, I'm losing my outpost already. But it's not really something I want to make ongoing because that's going to be ongoing for a while, considering if I were to produce science right now, my current yield is 0. So to get it to overproduce, that's going to take quite some effort and time. And while I work towards that point, this is just going to clog up my economic row here, and I'm going to be paying more resources every time I have to resolve that board. So that adds up over time too. So this is already throwing me off just from the first crisis. But I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to take progress and swap it with heroic progress. I think that's what I'm going to do. Not to overproduce science, but to get myself in a position where I can, survive the skirmish, but I won't actually need to survive the skirmish. You will see. Although maybe I do want to survive the skirmish. I'm thinking, so I was going to regroup so I can survive the skirmish, but then this allows me to remove an economic or general crisis, so I'd probably get rid of that. But if I can survive the skirmish, maybe I take that penalty and I remove this card here, and then I don't have to worry about it. Oh, and this is a general crisis too, but that one I should be able to take care of sooner. Have 8 or more glory is going to take a while, especially if I have to spend a glory token now. And I don't want to use a catastrophe token at the very first turn of the game. So although this allows me to remove a corruption as well, so that'll bring down the size of the skirmish. So, okay, a few things here to consider. So I'll start with this middle action. I'm going to invent, and that's going to cost 1 food, and I have to deactivate a fleet power. So let's spend 1 food. I go from 3 to 2, deactivate 1 fleet power. And now I can remove a corruption, so let's do that. And I can gain a tech. And I think I'm going to start off by gaining, what am I going to do? Let's do cybernetics first. Let's get some economy stuff going. So that gets me 4 influence. So I go from 10 up to 14. And the immediate effect is I can build a guild. And then whenever I build a guild, I may gain 2 resources matching that guild type. So I've already spent a couple food because deploying all these carriers costs food. So let's put down a farmer's guild right here. So that level is going to go up by 3. That would be this set of dials here. So go from level 0 to level 3. My yield is now 2. And because I built a farmer's guild, I can gain 2 food. So I go from 2 food to 4. And now we can slot that tech. So that was the invent action. Now I have 1 more action to take. And I will take this bottom action. So that is restore. I need to spend a glory token, and I only have 1. So that's going to go back in this glory tray with the other 2s. So that's kind of sad. I would like to have the glory, but now I can deploy a fleet power, I can regroup, and I can remove a crisis. And that's either an economic or general crisis, and I will remove this starting crisis just to clear off that economic track a little. And let me think about how I want to regroup here. I think I'm going to move this Corvette to here and this carrier to here. So that was 2 moves. Is that how I want it to be? Yes, probably so. So I'm going to remove this Corvette token, which is also double-sided, by the way. It's Voidborn on the back. And now I can still deploy a fleet power. And so I think I will probably send another carrier to my home sector. And by probably, I mean definitely. So let's put that there, add another token. Here's my last active fleet power. And again, that will cost me a food. So I go down to 3 food. And that was 2 actions. So I can discard this heroic card. And now we do these steps here. We check, I didn't have any trade tokens that I need to place anywhere, any agendas to mess with, but I check my sectors. I have 2 fleet tokens in each of my sectors, so that's legal. That's what I needed to check. And then we did not trigger the resolution of this card, so we can take this immediate penalty, and I will. So we're going to skirmish at +1. I have no corruption on my house mat, 1 modifier here, +1 is 2. So the Voidborn can attack my home sector, so they're going to attack my outpost. It is adjacent to Voidborn sector, so they send in 2 Corvettes. I have the initiative, so I fire first. they fire back, but the carrier, as a defender, has 1 salvo absorb. So now we go into the next round of salvo, I fire, take out their cube, they have nobody to fire back. So I survive the skirmish, and now I must add a sector defense to an adjacent voidborn sector, and I'm going to dump another one of those here. I don't have any intent of going there. So we can discard that crisis, get rid of this alert card, and now we can draw the alert card for the second turn. So we have level 1. Okay, level 1 alert. Let's grab a level 1 crisis. And we've got a military crisis, invade a sector with 1 or more sector defense. Otherwise, discard a trade token or return it to the Galactic board. So that's fortunate. I can do now what I wanted to do in the first turn and invade either this sector or that sector up there. They both have sector defenses, and then I can resolve that. And I'm going to play my Conquest card. So I'm going to take these top 2 actions, starting with the top action. So I need to spend 2 energy, and I have 2 energy, so that goes down to 0. And now I can either invade or regroup, and I will invade. And I don't want to invade with a carrier because I don't have any active fleet power, so they can't deploy any corvettes. So I'm going to move these 3 corvettes down here into this fallen house sector where there are 2 sector defense. So I'm going to lose 2 fleet power. Hey, look, I've got active fleet power again. 1 corvette survives, and that's it. I have conquered that sector. So I'm going to take this card and this glory token, bounty token. All right. So I've got a total of 1 glory now. Sweet. Go up to 15 influence. What else do I do? The bounty token. So this is just a blank. I'm going to draw one of the cardboard tokens from a bag. So we've got these custom draw bags. Reach into here. Make sure it's real shuffled from the last time. Okay, bounty token. Ooh, that's a good one. So this one is gain 1 science and 1 influence. I like and. So we go up to 16 influence, and let's gain a science. So I go from 2 to 3, and we can just store that over here. I'll just flip it on the bounty token side. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll leave it on that side. Okay. What else? Now I can gain one of these techs. So either cybernetics or combat replicators. And I've already got cybernetics. So suppose I'm taking combat replicators. And what does this say? This one is worth 4 influence. So now I'm up to 20 influence. There we go. And as the invader, when I win a combat, you may gain a bounty token and retain all installations in the combat sector, so you don't have to clear them. So in the event that, for example, I did invade this sector, I could keep those sector defenses if I win. So this is a going forward effect. It does not apply to the combat that I just won because I didn't have combat replicators going into the combat. And then to be clear, if you do have this, you never retain any installations printed on cards or pre-printed on sectors, like when you flip that rift over. That's a pre-printed sector defense. You don't get to keep it. Did I gain my 4 influence? Yes, I did. So I need to activate 1 fleet power. So there we go. This is a really cool tech to have. And I'll slot this in a moment. Now I also get this effect. I can deploy a fleet power to that sector, and I will do a carrier for scoring purposes. So I keep wanting to spend influence like it's food. Spend 1 food. I go from 3 to 2 and deploy here. Great. So I can score there now. And now I'm going to flip this over. This says I can have 1 extra tech, and I don't want to forget about it, so I'm going to slot the combat replicators there. I've got a little room to move these over, I suppose. All right, so there's my extra tech. That goes there. So I've got combat replicators. I've got cybernetics. That's all pretty nice. And that was this first action, so that was good. And now I've invaded a sector with 1 or more sector defenses. There are actually 2 there. So I've completed this crisis without fear, so I can put it away. Crisis is called Without Fear. I'm not saying I completed it fearlessly. So now I'm going to take the second action because I really want an agenda. So that's going to cost 1 energy and 1 credit. I'm out of energy, so that's going to be 2 credits. I go from 4 down to 2. And so I think I'm going to gain a might agenda because I plan on playing prosperity still. Probably this prosperity. And I want to take all 3 actions, so I'm going to need a trade token first. So I'm going to have to get that from politics, and I'll probably use politics to invade as well, which means I won't advance the statecraft track, but that should be okay right now. I really want to push this economic track. So, okay, the point was I'm going for might agenda for prosperity, and I really like this one on top. I think this will score well for me. So we're going to take that one, flip a new one over, and oh, that one's pretty interesting too. But this one says that basically I want to build engineers guilds. I need my energy production yield to be 8 or higher. Right now my yield is at 2, so that'll get me 5 points. But then this one is 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. So right now 1, 2, 3, that would be worth 6 influence right now. If I can purify that sector, it'd be worth another 4. I think that pairs really well with having these pure carriers on my starting agenda. So this basically makes every pure carrier worth 5. Well, not exactly, because this is sectors with pure carriers, and this is just per fleet power, but really powerful. So that goes into my hand. I'm glad to have that. And now the second part of this action, I can also move a corruption, and I think I will do that because this sector cannot score right now. So let's take that corruption off the sector and move it to my society track, because I don't really see that society track being very important. Although, on the off chance I can advance it, I don't have that many agendas right now. Maybe we'll put this here. I think I'm mostly in an okay position to defend from skirmishes. I got to build up this sector a little bit, but this sector is totally safe. So hopefully I can put down some sector defenses there and or get another carrier in, we'll see. Or really even move this Corvette back. That's a possibility. But that's all the actions from Conquest. I don't have an active crisis anymore, so we'll get rid of this alert card and draw the third one. And so we have another 1. I think that's the second 1, so that'll be it for 1s for the game if you look up at the chart up there. So we grab a level 1 crisis card. We have a general crisis, depleting reserves. While resolving a production focus, choose to remove bounty tokens from the map twice. Otherwise, spend a food, an energy, and a material. I don't really plan on playing production, even though that would be really easy to solve. I might make this one ongoing. I'll probably play production at some point, and I don't really want to give up these resources, especially this early in the game, unless I really feel like I'm getting something for it. So I know I said I was going to play politics, then hopefully heroic prosperity, and I think that's still the case. Maybe I'll end with either development or production. Production would help obviously solve this. Development would help me. Not so much that one, but development would help me get installations down to protect this sector, which is important. It would help me get guilds down. So, okay, let's start with politics, and then I'll plan to do prosperity. And when I gain an agenda from that, I'll gain a wealth agenda, and then end with either production to solve this or development, and I'll be able to play that other agenda. So we've got politics here, and I really want that trade token. I'm going to need that, and I want to take this invade action. So I don't think I will be advancing my statecraft track. Ooh, although I notice I can't afford to take both of these actions right now because I don't have any energy, so I'm going to need credits for all of this, and that would be 4 credits, and I only have 2 credits. 2 credits, no energy, so I'm going to have to figure that out. So I could start with this bottom action, gain the trade token, take the bounty token as the reward, and then hope that that funds the other action. That's a little bit, I don't know if it's risky, but I don't know if it's going to work or not. And then I guess if I can fund it, great, I'll do it. If I can't fund it, I guess I could spend the science, just advance on this track. I'm going to lose the invade. Not the end of the world. I can do it later, but I'd really like to get one of those carriers up into that asteroid belt sector just for scoring purposes. It's a nice place to be, and the earlier I can do it in the game, the better, so I can score for it more cycles. But if I don't invade now, the only way I'll have to invade left for this cycle is to grab a dominance agenda and play temptation, and I don't know that I want to do that. Well, I guess I don't even need the dominance agenda because I could just play the exploit action on temptation and copy the invade action from Conquest. So that's a possibility, although I don't love it. But if I'm looking at chaining my cards here, I could. So if I do play, this prosperity and gain an agenda, I can either use it with temptation, but then I can advance this econ track once and then advance it a second time here and gain another tech, which would be good, and then still invade. So that's not like the worst thing ever. So, okay, I don't know where that leaves me with this card, but I guess I'm going to start with this bottom action, and then I'll see what happens. So spend 1 credit. I go from 2 to 1. Gain a trade token. I like that. And as my reward, gain a bounty token. And we'll see. If we get 2 energy, then I can invade. And if we don't get 2 energy, then I can go a different route. We got 1 food and 1 energy. All right, so food goes from 2 to 3, energy goes from 0 to 1. So I cannot afford that invade action. So I guess I'm going to spend a science and advance my statecraft track. So I go from 3 to science down to 2, advance here, and then I can advance again and activate a fleet power. That's not a bad thing. And now that was 2 actions. So I think I will make this ongoing because resources are a little tight right now. I don't want to spend those resources. It'll be saving me 3 at the moment, but then I'll be spending 2 at the end of the cycle. So I'm really only saving like 1 food, but I'm definitely not taking a catastrophe token. So, okay, we'll make it ongoing. I think that's fine. Let's get rid of this alert card and grab a new one for the 4th turn. And we have a level 2 alert, so let's get a level 2 crisis card. And we have a general crisis. This is Panic in the Fleet. After resolving a conquest focus, choose to also recall twice. And the immediate penalty would be to remove 2 non-home installations. I don't like anything about that. I suspect this will be my first catastrophe token of this game. And so, oops, this was supposed to get slotted here at the end of my last turn. Okay, let's go ahead and play Prosperity. And I will take Heroic Prosperity. And I will use this trade token. And I will pair it with this agenda. So I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. Oh, and this will be neat. Okay, let's start with this bottom action to take an agenda. And I will still take a wealth agenda. I don't know whether or not I'm going to use it right now, but I don't really want the corruption at the moment. So I don't want this one. Let's take the top 2 because this, you need a number 5 glory token. I've got a single glory worth 1, and then you need improved text, which I don't have any of, so that's not going to score anything right now. So this one scores if you have 2 or more pure fleet power that are different fleet types. So I've got that, and then 2 influence for every reclaim token. It might be a while before I get any of those. And this one is 4 or more techs. I've already got 3, and then scoring off of pairs of pure sectors. This one is definitely better for me. I'm going to take that. Oh, and you know what? I think I can get another tech right now. I was planning to use this for another trade token, but I don't think I need to. I think I'm going to use it right now to advance my lowest track, and I can choose between society and economy because they're both at the bottom. So I'll advance this economic track, gain 1 credit and 1 science. So 1 credit, 1 science, and now, so I've done that. Let's take this top action, spend 2 of any resources. Let's spend, wait, what am I doing next here? Either temptation or development, I think. So I won't need energy. So let's spend 1 energy and 1 science, I think. So I've got 0 energy, 2 science now. And now I can advance my econ track. So that goes up and I gain another basic tech. And I think now I'm going to go for arc ships. That one's pretty good at the moment, so I'm going to gain 4 influence for that. I go up to 24, increase a pure population, and build an installation somewhere. Or I'm sorry, a guild. So let's increase this pure population from 3 to 4, because I can pretty safely build up this sector, and maybe I start to tear this one down. Now I can build a guild, and we want these engineers guilds. So let's build one of those there, so that production level goes up 4 times. So it's at level 3, so it goes up to level 7. So my yield is now 4, and because I have cybernetics, I also gain 2 energy. So I go from 0 to 2. So I can slot this, and I can have 2 additional guilds on my home sector. So that's pretty neat. And now I also gain 4 resources of any type and any combination I want. And so I think I'm probably okay on food. Maybe we grab 1 more food, and then 3 credits. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now I'm at 4 food, 5 credits. 2 energy, 2 materials, 2 science. I think that's a decent spot to be in. And now finally, I'm going to do this middle action. I remove a non-home guild, so I'm going to get rid of this farmer's guild. I can always build another one of those later. So this level goes back down to 0. Again, I mostly want to focus on the engineers guild for that scoring criteria. And now I gain a trade token and I can remove a harbinger. So when I remove a harbinger, I want to pick the one that I'm least likely to get to through invade actions. So like, I don't want to remove that one because that'd probably be the next one I'd get. I think I can, from here, come this way, or because I'm coming up here, or intending to, I can probably get that one pretty easily. That one is like the furthest away. I don't see myself getting that one anytime soon. So let's get that one off the map so it's just gone, because that'll help ensure that I am denying influence to the Voidborn. And then we gain a trade token. And what do I want to take with that? I can take a bounty token, or I can take 2 food, material, and or energy. I think I will take 2 food. So I go from 4 to 6. That feels pretty good. So now that's the end of the turn. This trade token returns to the Galactic board. This one needs to get slotted. Let's put it here. This agenda can now be slotted here. This heroic card goes away, and this crisis card seems like it's just going to mess up my life. I don't ever want to resolve it, so I'm going to take a catastrophe, which is not my favorite thing to do, but that makes the card go away. And now I can either gain 5 resources or remove a corruption. I think I'm better off removing the corruption right now. So I'm going to do that. Let's get this off of my player board. And now I don't have any corruption, and that's pretty good. So now I've got 1 turn left, right? Played Progress, Conquest, Politics, and Prosperity. Yeah, I've got 1 more. And I was thinking about going with Temptation just to advance one of these tracks to get into Tier 1, unlock an improved tech, and then copy the invade action off Conquest and get one of those carriers into the asteroid belt. But looking at the Galactic event, if I do that, all I'm going to do is get to build an installation from the Galactic event, and I think I would rather gain an agenda by having 5 or more guilds. So I need to get some guilds down. And in order to do that, I'm going to play my development card, my special Fenrax one, and I'll pair it with this agenda. And I suppose I need a new alert card as well. I got to find out what I'm up against here. So let's draw that alert card, and it is a war card. Nothing like ending the cycle with war. So this is one of the hard ones, but luckily I got it in cycle 1. Right now I just have to resolve the crisis board, so I can handle that. Cycle 2 is not too bad. You have to gain a corruption. Cycle 3 can be nasty though, where there's 5 extra initiative. So it's as if the Voidborn have targeting. So I'm glad I got this early, I suppose, rather than later. So anyway, I'm playing Fenrax's special development with this agenda, and I'll flip this trade token as well. And while I'm thinking of it, I want to point out something iconography-wise real quickly on these 2 special Fenrax cards on development and dispersal, because it's really subtle, but it's pretty important. So you can see here on the dispersal card, the cost here is you have to lower a pure non-home population and then increase 2 pure populations. And there's this like not equals in a sector symbol, and it's directly to the right of that first raised population. Hopefully you can see that. On this card, on development, you lower a pure population. Again, it has that same symbol, not equal hexes, and that symbol is not directly to the right. It's kind of to the right and above of this top symbol. So the differentiator here is on dispersal, where it's directly to the right, it's like at the intersection of all these connected lines. You lower 1 non-home pure population, and then you can raise 2 different pure populations. You cannot raise the same pure population twice. These 2 need to be different from each other. Whereas on the development card, the symbol is not at an intersection. There are 2 lines coming out of it separately to each of these guilds. So you lower a non-home pure population, and then you can build 2 guilds, not in the sector where you lower the population, but they can be in the same sector to each other. So that's really critical. It's really hard, or really easy to miss. So I just thought I'd point it out since we were here. But I'll put dispersal away. I'm not playing that right now. I'm playing development with the trade token and the agenda card. So let's start, I think, with the bottom action. I'm going to spend 1 food, so I go from 6 to 5, 1 science, I go from 2 to 1, and I can deploy a fleet power and raise a population in the same sector. And so I'm going to do that in this sector, and I'm going to deploy a carrier. So let's deploy the carrier here. That's going to cost me 1 food. So now I go from 5 down to 4, getting a little low, and I can increase the pure population in that sector. So I go from 3 to 4, which will increase my energy production. So that goes up 1 level. So it has a yield of 5 now. I'm aiming for 8. And if we look, we now have 2 pure sectors with 4 or more pure population. So I have completed this level 0 agenda. I'm sorry, not agenda, crisis card. So now if I skirmish, like for this, I have no Voidborn that I need to worry about. So that's pretty fantastic. So that was this action. Now let's take this middle action. So that's going to cost me 1... whatever that is, materials, and I have to decrease 1 pure population in a non-home sector. So let's bring this one back down from 4 to 3. So again, I've got to adjust the level here. Okay, now I can build 2 guilds as long as they're not in this sector. So I'm going to put another engineers guild in this sector, so that makes that level go up by 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which is a yield of 10, which is what I need for this agenda, so that's good. And because of cybernetics, I also gain 2 energy, so that goes up to 4. And then I think I'm going to put a scientist guild in my home sector, and I am using arc ships, so I don't have to put it in that slot. I don't have to pay the upkeep there, but my science level now goes up 2 times, and I gain 2 science for having cybernetics. And now I'll take this action on top. I'm going to spend 1 material, so I'm out of materials, and 1 credit, so I go from 5 to 4, and I can build a guild and an installation in the same sector. So I'm going to choose this sector. I'm going to put this installation here to help protect it, 1 sector defense, and I think I will put down a farmer's guild. No, actually, I'll put down a miner's guild. So now that level goes up 3 times. So my yield is 3, and I gain 2 materials. I was out of materials, and I want some because I'm going to have to pay this twice in a moment, so I wanted a couple materials. And now I will take this agenda action, and so I will build a farmer's guild. I think I'll go ahead and do that here. So that is going to cost me an upkeep, but that's okay. So I gain 2 food for that because of cybernetics, and now my food level goes from level 0 to level 4. The yield is 3, and now I produce food, so I get another 3 food, so I'm up to 9 food. So I should be covered for my upkeep. So all in all, I think that went pretty well. So now I do step 3 of the focus step, make sure I don't have more than 2 fleet tokens on any sector. I don't. I can slot this agenda. I can return the trade token, or I return it to the board. I guess I would. If I had a new trade token, I would slot it. Oh, hey. Come on. There we go. And now we resolve the current crisis, which is this war alert card. So we're in cycle 1. All we have to do is resolve this board. So first we skirmish. I have no corruption here, no modifiers here, no other modifiers elsewhere. So skirmish at 0. So that's good. And now for the economic track, I need to pay 1 material and 1 energy. So this goes down, this goes down. All right. Now that war card is resolved. We won't see it again. So happy day. And that was 5 turns. So now we go to the evaluation phase, and we start with resolving the crisis board again. So again, no corruption, no modifiers, skirmish at 0. I win. Now I've got to resolve the economic track again. So it's another materials and another energy. Maybe I would have been better off paying this penalty to begin with, because now I've paid this twice. So it's cost me 4 resources when this only would have cost me 3. So I guess that was a mistake. But now we look at upkeep. I've got 2, 4, 6 from my agenda cards, plus here is number 7. So 7 upkeep, and I've got 9 food. So I go down to 2. That's all covered. I don't have any pure sectors with 3 guilds and 6 population. This one is close. I need 2 more population. So no safe havens. Now we look at the Galactic event. I do have pure non-static agenda, so I could choose to build an installation, but I do also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pure guilds. And so I have, that's 5 or more, so I can take an agenda card, and I definitely want to do that. And I think I'm going to take another might agenda. I plan on keeping this one, but I would like that action of probably another trade token. It would be really helpful. And I'm not really building a lot of installations, so that one's not looking great. Let's look at the next two here. I haven't done much on science guilds. Oh, this one's really similar to this one. It's just scoring for installations instead of engineers guilds, but I've already figured out the engineers thing. So I guess let's take this one because it's close to what I'm doing, but I don't imagine I'll swap them. So this goes into hand. I have it for next cycle. And let's score our pure agendas now. So I've got 24 influence at the moment. We'll score the starting agenda. Let's see. We start with my lowest stockpile, which is materials, which is at 0. I guess these two materials, I'll demo this min-maxing, I guess, like the second time that this came around and I spent 1, I could have spent like a credit, and then this would give me 2 influence. I think I'd rather have the credit. It doesn't really matter right now. So I've got 0, so 0 times 2 is going to be 0, no influence for that first part. That's okay. That'll probably come later. So now I get 3 influence for every pure sector with at least 1 carrier, and I've got 3 of those sectors, so that's going to be 9 influence, so I go from 24 to 33. And then 1 influence for every pure guild I have, which I just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 influence. So that gets me up to 40, which is usually a decent benchmark for the end of cycle 1, and I've still got 2 agendas left. So aggregated power sources, if I have 8 or more production yield on energy, and my yield is currently 10, so that gets me 5 influence. So I'm up to 45 now. And then 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2 is 12, so that gets me to 57. And then technological singularity, do I have 4 techs? 1, 2, 3, 4, I do. So that's 4 influence, 1, 2, 3, 4, that gets me to 61. And then 5 influence for every pair of pure sectors, and I've got 1, 2, 3 pure sectors. I just wasn't able to grab that one yet. That would have been nice. So just 1 pair, 5 influence. So that gets me to 66. That's a pretty decent score for the end of cycle 1, so I feel good about that. So now I'll do all the things that normally happen to prepare for cycle 2. I will remove a trade token. I'll refresh the heroic focus cards and the crisis and alert decks. I've got to add a harbinger to this board, probably on the economic track if I had to guess. I'll remove the tech blocker from the Galactic board for the cycle 2 improved techs up there. I'll draw the next Galactic event, and then I will recover my played focus cards, and I will add innovation in the mix. So I'll get that done with a little movie magic, and I'll see you in just a moment. All right, so we're in cycle 2. I think I did all the things I said I was supposed to do. Our heroic focus cards this round are Conquest, Politics, and Innovation. I would sure like to use all 3 of those. I put the Harbinger on the economic track as suspected. Again, our improved techs on offer this cycle are Dreadnoughts, Robotics, Arc Ships, and Cybernetics. And then, of course, Carriers. Let's not forget that. I would like to get those pretty soon. And the event that we drew is Humanity Rising, so another 5 turns this cycle. The first thing that it says to do is add a reclaim token, a bounty token, and 2 Voidborn fleet power on each Voidborn sector with at least 4 population. Now, the only Voidborn sectors with at least 4 population are this one and that one, and they both have 2 Voidborn fleet power already, and they can only hold a max of 3. So because we cannot completely resolve in either of those sectors, we do not do any of that. So I guess we just kind of ignore it. That's fine. And then the next box says, gain a corruption on a civilization track if possible, otherwise gain a corruption anywhere. So I'm going to take this and put it on this civilization track here because I'm not really pushing that one. And then I may gain, in this third box, either 3 science or advance a track, and I am absolutely going to advance a track. And the question is just which. There is so much I want to do with these cards right here. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But I think I'm going to go with the statecraft track. So I'm going to advance, and then I can advance again, and now I can deploy to every shipyard that I have, and carriers count as shipyards. And so I'm just going to deploy 1 time. I'm going to deploy right here a carrier. So here we go, deploying a carrier from that carrier. Now that is not recursive. This one cannot then deploy more, just for clarity's sake. So I have to spend 1 food. I go from 2 to 1. And now at the end of the first turn, I'll have to reduce that down if it's not down to 2 or fewer fleet tokens by then. So at the end of this cycle, if I have 3 or more bankers guilds, or I'm sorry, a yield of 3 or more with my bankers guilds, then I can produce food, energy, and materials, which is pretty sweet. Otherwise, if I have 5 or more techs, I gain 10 influence. I would not be surprised if I gained 1 more tech this round, but I think I want to aim for that top box because that might lead to some overproduction, and then that can help me avoid having to produce in other ways. So I guess let's draw the first alert card before I get too far ahead of myself. But really, I would like to play all of these again, an invade and an invade, and if I can pair this with a dominance agenda, I can get 3 invade actions, and I wouldn't mind getting this sector, the asteroid belt, and the Genesis sector, especially using these 2 actions to remove fleet power, either from here or from here. I'm seeing a path this way towards that rift. Again, not counting on necessarily removing the rift or closing the rift by the end of the game, but if I can get sort of in that position, that would be good. This card, in addition to invading and removing a corruption, so I'd want to use that like here, not here or there, because that'd be a waste. I can also regroup my fleet power and gain an agenda. I want to do that. All 3 of these actions seem good. I want to advance this track again, and I would like to get a trade token, invade for sure, whoops, and remove a Harbinger would also be good. And then Heroic Innovation is just so awesome because you get a basic tech and an improved tech in 1 turn, and then I can remove a Crisis card and gain an agenda as well. So I'd want a trade token for each of those. This one gets me a trade token, so if I can get a trade token, then play politics, get another trade token, use it on innovation, that's sort of where my head's at. But okay, let's grab the next alert card. And we've got another war card. So we're in cycle 2, so we would resolve the crisis board and then skirmish at +1. So luckily I'm at 1, so that'd be 2. That's still not too bad. I can skirmish at 2, and if I successfully defend, I actually get to improve a glory token. That doesn't happen very often. You get a reward on a war card. Okay, so I know I said I wanted to get a trade token before playing politics, and I can do that by playing either progress or prosperity and gaining a trade token that way. So I think I've kind of got my cycle planned out here. Oh, but I forgot something super important. I can't believe I did this. At the end, during the preparation, or I'm sorry, during the evaluation phase of cycle 1, I skipped this step, which is so important for House Fenrax. So nothing has changed in terms of pure sectors or population, so this is still good to resolve as it is. Glad I caught that. Dumb George Michael. So we've got 3 pure sectors, 2, 3, and 4 population. So a 2 population sector that's pure gets you 2 credits, so I go up to 6. A 3 population sector gets you 1, go up to 7. And then a 4 population sector gets you 1 science, so I go up to 4 now. That is super important. I really need that. So everybody who is screaming at their screens, thank you. I heard you. So, okay, let's start with prosperity, and we'll pair it with this agenda card. And let's start with the agenda card, actually, and gain the trade token. And for the bonus, I'm going to take 2 materials because I'm going to spend those this turn. So we have 1, 2 materials, okay. Now I will advance my econ track with the top action. So spend a material, advance this track. Now it gets to advance again. And now I can build a guild. And for the sake of that Galactic event, I'm going to build a Bankers Guild. I'll put it here. So that level goes up 3. So it goes from level 1 to 2, 3, 4. It starts at level 1 because my origin card gives you 1. So now my yield for credits is 2, and I only need to get it up to 3. So let's see, I'm at level 4. I need to get it to level 6. That's what will accomplish that. So if I just put a Banker's Guild on my home sector, I can do that without even an upkeep using arc ships. Then I can accomplish that. So that would be good. And now don't forget I have cybernetics, so I gain 2 credits for that. So I'm up to 9 credits. And now I'll take this bottom action. I need to deactivate a fleet power. I don't feel like I have as many active fleet power as I usually do playing Fenrax A. And now I need to spend an energy and a material. So here's the material, back down to 0. Here's the energy, down to 1. And now I can gain an agenda and build an installation. So for the installation, let's put another sector defense here. And for the agenda, I think I'll grab a support agenda. And honestly, this one on top looks pretty good, heavy industry. So I'm going to take that so I can pair it with this heroic conquest later. So I've already got 2 pure engineers guilds and 2 pure miners guilds, so that's worth 6 points, and then 3 influence for every pure sector with 1 or more bankers guilds, which kind of aligns with what's going on there. So I might be able to run the score up on that a little bit. We'll see where it's at when I get around to playing it. So I think that's it. I grabbed the trade token, advanced the economic track, took my agenda, built an installation. So now I need to slot this. I don't think I'm going to keep this agenda. I think I'm going to keep this one that I already have because this right half is the same. The left half on this one I've already accomplished. The left half on this one I have not. So we'll put this one back, but thanks for the trade token. Okay, and now we need to resolve this war card. So I have 1 corruption here, no modifier here. Don't forget the modifier up here for cycles 2 and 3 only applies to this specific instance of resolving the crisis board. Only that time when you do it in the evaluation phase. It does not apply to the rest of cycles 2 and 3. I had that question come up recently. So we've got 1 here, modifier on the war card of +1. So the Voidborn are going to skirmish at 2. This sector is not adjacent to any Voidborn sectors. That's my home sector. It's not an eligible target. This is the only valid target, so 2 Voidborn come in. They get taken out by the 2-sector defense, and that's it for the skirmish. So I've successfully defended. Now I can improve this glory token. So I remove the 1 and replace it with a 2. So kind of back where I started glory-wise. And now I need to resolve this bottom portion, so I need to spend 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science. I don't have material, so that's going to be a credit. So I've got 1 food, no energy, no materials, 8 credits, and 3 science. So the credits are keeping me going. But that war card is resolved, and now we draw the second alert card for the cycle. It is a level 3. So we've got a general crisis. When you gain an agenda, select from a corrupted offer. Otherwise, you can corrupt 2 agenda offers. Jeez. Do I want a dominance agenda? Maybe. I might do that, but not this turn, I don't think. So, okay, that could have been worse. I think I can make that work. So what am I doing now? Right now, I am playing politics to take heroic politics, and I will use a trade token to take all 3 actions. Okay, so I'm going to start with this middle action. So I need to spend 2 energy and 1 science. I have no energy, so 2 credits and 1 science. I got 6 credits, 2 science now. And I can do 2 things. 1, I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from any adjacent sector. So I'm going to take 1 out of this Genesis sector. And then secondly, I can perform an invade action. And I'm going to invade from this sector into this one. And so I'm going to move in with this Corvette and with 1 carrier. And so this carrier cannot deploy as normal because I don't have any active fleet power. I will lose this Corvette on the way into this sector defense, so that's gone. But now combat is over. So I use that a little bit as a sneaky way to get a active fleet power so that other carriers can potentially use it later. But this sector can never be the target of a skirmish, so it's safe. It's pure right now. I've got a carrier parked there, so that's going to score pretty well for me. And then I can score my glory, which is 2. I don't gain a new glory token, so I go up to 68. What else? There were no bounty or reclaim tokens or any fun prizes there, but as soon as you conquer there, you may activate 1 fleet power and gain 2 food. So I gain 2 food, I go from 1 to 3, and I now have a Farmer's Guild at level 3, so this goes up 3 more levels, 1, 2, 3. It does not trigger cybernetics. I didn't build that guild, I just have access to it now. But that's a good sector to be parked in, so happy with that. So that was this action here, and now I'm going to take this top action, so that's going to cost me 2 credits and 1 science, which is pretty steep. So I go down to 4 credits and 1 science, but now I gain a trade token, so we'll take that one there. And what do I want for it? Do I want 2 credits or am I going to need science? I think I'm going to take 2 credits. So I go back up to 6. And now I can advance my statecraft track, so that goes up again. And I can deploy to every shipyard, and my carriers are shipyards. Do I want to deploy my fleet power right now? I think I will deploy 1 to this carrier, which is a shipyard. Deploy 1, and that's going to cost me 1 food. So my food goes from 3 to 2. All right, let's fix that as well. A little askew. And I'm not going to deploy this one, even though I could. So now I'll take this bottom action. I'm not going to fully utilize it, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to remove one non-home installation, and then I can remove a corruption from a sector. And unfortunately, I only have corruption on my house mat, so that's not going to help. But then I can also remove a harbinger. And now I'm going to do the opposite of what I said previously. I'm going to remove this harbinger because I expect I'm going to attack this soon, and I don't want this to sit on my board for a long time, so away it goes. And that was all 3 of these actions. So now I'm going to return this trade token to the board, to the Galactic board. I slot this trade token, remove the heroic focus card, and then I've got to deal with this agenda. And I think I'm going to take this action next turn. So I'm going to put this on the military track and remove this alert card. And then I've got something I've got to go do. So hopefully I remember where I left off, and for you it'll be pretty seamless. Here we go. All right, I'm back. I think I know where I'm at. Surgery scheduled for tomorrow. Things just don't get any easier. So how many turns has that been? I remember what I did. Prosperity, politics. I got 3 more turns this cycle and about an hour to play right now. Let's see how far I can get. So I think next I was playing Conquest and taking Heroic Conquest, and it'd probably be good to take a look at my next alert card before I make that decision, but I'll probably pair it with this agenda as well. But let's grab the next alert card. Okay, we've got a level 3 alert coming, or a level 3 crisis, and this one is Tainted Knowledge, so General Crisis. After you gain an improved tech, choose to also discard a glory token with a value of 3 or higher. Otherwise, Skirmish and the Voidborn have +2 approach absorption. I don't have a glory token high enough to be able to discard it, even though I think I'll be gaining improved techs soon, but I think I can handle this Skirmish, depending on how this turn goes. Yeah, so I'll stick with the cards I've got here, and I'm going to take these top 2 actions in addition to this one. The question is just the order of events. All right, and I'm going to start with this middle action. So I need to spend 1 energy and 1 credit, and I have no energy, so 2 credits. I'm down to 4 credits. And I'm going to start by grabbing an agenda, and I can also then regroup. And I want a dominance agenda, and when I take a corrupted agenda, it'll make this crisis card go away, which will make this skirmish easier, which is good. So I want a dominance type. This one is really, it's looking pretty appealing because you score based off the statecraft track, but I think I'm going to advance my economic track more. So I'm going to grab a couple of these, and then this one will still be sitting here. If I change my mind later, I should be able to get to it in the next cycle. So, okay, yeah, this is more what I was thinking. This one scores based on your society track, so that doesn't really work for me. But this one is the economic track, so if I can get this all the way up, that would be really helpful. And then I score 5 influence if I have 4 or more peer sectors with 3 population each. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I would only need to just raise that population or get this one and clear the corruption, which I think I can do. So this is definitely the one I want. That was sort of what I was hoping for. So this goes in my hand. All right. And so now I need to take this corruption somewhere. And I took a corrupted agenda, so this crisis is solved. And I don't really want to place this back on my player board here, so I'm going to place it in this sector, which cannot be a Voidborn sector, but it can be corrupted. And this was probably going to hurt me the least to have that one be corrupted, seeing as these have so many more guilds that I'm going to score. And now I can regroup. And so I think I will have this carrier move into this sector here. And now I will take this top action. So that's going to cost me 1 food, 2 energy. I do have 1 food, 2 more credits. So I'm down to 2 credits now, getting a little low on resources, but now I can invade and then remove a corruption from that sector. So I'm going after this Genesis sector here, and I will move in this carrier and this carrier. And on approach, one of them can deploy a Corvette, so let's do that. It's the only active fleet power I have. And we'll set it here for a moment. That's a Corvette, right? So now the initiative is 3-2. So I fire first, and then the Voidborn fire back, and they're going to hit this Corvette, and I'll just recall that now. Now we go to the next salvo. I fire first, and that is the end of combat. Whoopsie, throwing Corvettes. All right, so I'm going to gain number 2 glory token and a bounty token. And when I invade, I have the ability to move this corruption out of here, but I am going to decline to take that bonus because I'm going to take this after I finish the invade action. So let's take this to glory and score my glory, which is 4. So I go up to 72. Wish I had more glory. I got real low on that somehow. And let's exchange this stand-in for a bounty token. So we go to the draw bag. Give me a good one. Give me one that says 15 credits. We've got 1 energy and 1 science. Well, that's good too. I'll take it. 1 energy, 1 science. So what am I at? I've got 1 food, 1 energy, no materials, 2 credits, 2 science. All right. And that is my 3rd bounty token over here. So that's it for the invade action. Now I will take this second part to remove the corruption from this sector. So that's gone. And now I'll take my agenda action. So I will activate 1 fleet power and I can build an installation. And so I will build a sector defense right here. So these are the 2 sectors that are now available to be skirmish targets, but they're both in pretty good shape to defend themselves. So now I can slot this agenda, and I don't have a support agenda yet. I have might and wealth, so we might as well slot this. And we're done with this heroic focus card, so this goes away. And then as for this crisis, tainted knowledge, let's go ahead and do the skirmish at +2 approach absorb. So I have no modifiers here and only 1 corruption here in my house mat. So 1 Voidborn Corvette is going to attack either of these places. They'd prefer to attack here because there's more guilds, but otherwise they're both pure. They both have exactly the same installations and fleet power. They both have the same population. So with everything else being equal, except this one has more guilds, they'll attack here. So the 1 fleet power comes in. It has 2 approach absorb, so this sector defense does nothing. Now I have the initiative 2-1. I fire first, take out that Voidborn Corvette, and that's it. The combat is over. So that's it for this crisis card. And let's get rid of the alert card as well. And that was, I believe, turn 3 of 5. Yes, 3 of 5. So I've got 2 more turns left this cycle. And so let's grab the next alert card. And it's a level 2 alert. So let's get a level 2 crisis. And it's an economic crisis. This is Heart of a New Dominaeum. Increase a pure population to 6. Otherwise, I can recall a fleet power at the end of this turn to solve this crisis. Interesting. I may or may not do that. But next up, I'm going to play Innovation and take Heroic Innovation and pair it with this agenda card and use this trade token. All right. So I'm going to do all 3 of these actions plus this action. So let's start with this top action. It's going to cost me 4 resources. So I'm going to spend 1, 2 credits. I'm out of those now. And 1 energy. I'm out of energy. And 1 science. So all I've got now is 1 food and 1 science. Getting pretty low. But now I can gain a basic tech. And I am going to take cloning. Think it's about time we need to look at that. So that gives me 4 influence. So I go from 72 to 76. And so when I increase population, I may gain 1 credit or activate 1 fleet power. And I may do one of those 2 things right now as well. I can gain a credit or activate a fleet power. And even as low as I am right now on credits, I think I want the fleet power. It helps to have a few of those. Nah. Changed my mind already. Let's take the credit. So I've got 1 credit. Okay. And now I can slot that tech. There's cloning. And now I produce science and credits. Pause though. On the last turn, I invaded this sector and I forgot I had combat replicators. So there were no installations to keep, but I can gain another bounty token. Let me do that too. Did I gain a bounty token when I invaded this sector? I don't think I did. And when the game started, there was a bounty token here and a bounty token here, so I claimed those 2, and I got 1 from a trade token. I am pretty sure I am owed 2 bounty tokens for those 2 invasions that came after I took this fallen house. So better late than never. Let me grab those. There's one. There's a second. Okay. So this one is 2 food, and this one is 1 of any resource, so that'll be a credit. So let's gain 2 food and 1 credit. Let's make sure I'm using the text that I have. And then we are partially through this action, so I need to produce credits. So I produce 2. I'm up to 4 credits now, and I produce science. My production yield is 1. So I'm up to, what do I have now? 3 food, nothing, 4 credits, 2 science. And so now I'm going to take this middle action. There is no cost. I can gain an advanced tech and remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector. So let's remove the Voidborn fleet power, and I'm going to take it from here. So that's down to 1. And then for my improved tech, I've unlocked 1, 2, 3. So I have none. So I've got plenty of room for those. I'm going to take carriers. We definitely want that. So everything remains the same. But now I can have up to 3 fleet power cubes on a single fleet token for carriers. So first I gain 6 influence. I go from 76 to 82. And now I can activate a fleet power and I can deploy a carrier. Before I do that, let's flip these all over. This is very satisfying. I enjoy this part, especially if you're playing with somebody else, because there's only one improved version of each tech. It feels nice to flip yours over and be able to differentiate them on the map. And then you can just, be smug about it, about having the improved carriers. So these two can be combined. This gives me a lot more options with my fleet. All right, that's looking pretty good. So I did activate, I can deploy, and I will do that. So let's spend 1 food. I go from 3 down to 2 food. And let's just add another token here. That's where I'm going to go. All right. Now what? Well, I guess now slot this fully. Okay, and I can take this bottom action, spend 2 resources to gain an agenda and remove a crisis card. So the cost is 2 resources. So I'm going to spend, spend 1 credit and 1 science. And I'm going to remove a crisis card, and I'm going to remove this one, which I probably never should have put there to begin with, and gain an agenda. And I think I'm going to get another wealth agenda. 1, 2, there we go. What have we got here? Intellectual supremacy, self-sustaining campaign. Ooh, those are interesting. I like this one. I don't think it'll be better than technological singularity, which I have slotted. This one might be better, so I'm going to take it and I can evaluate it when it's time to slot it. Because again, this kind of having a lot of credits pairs with this agenda here of having bankers guilds and this galactic event. So those things all seem to go together. So let's take that wealth agenda. And so now I've taken all 3 of these actions, and all that's left is my agenda action, which is to invade. And I am going to do that. So I'm going to move these 2 carriers into this sector, and they each deploy a corvette. Right here, 2 corvettes. And I lose 1 to the sector defense on the way in. And now I've got initiative. I fire first and remove this Voidborn fleet power. So that's it for combat. We'll flip that over, put my corvette on it. And I gain these 2 reclaim tokens, the glory token, and a bounty token, because I'm remembering combat replicator. So not only do I gain a bounty token, but I can keep that installation. That is really nice. And then this harbinger's got to live somewhere. So let's start with the glory. 4 glory, so I score 8 glory now. So I go from 82 to 90. Okay. And still cycle too. I guess I'm doing all right. Let's take the bounty token first. So got this one here, 2 energy. That'll do. I'll take that. So I'm up to 2 energy. And now we get a couple of reclaim tokens. So we got a bag for these as well. Let's make sure these are mixed pretty good too. Okay, 2 of these. 1 and 2. Let's see what we get. A Miners Guild and, oh, another Miners Guild. That's interesting. Okay. So one goes in that slot, one goes in this slot, and for each of those, I trigger one of these cybernetics. So I'm going to gain 4 material for that. So I go from 0 to 4, and then my Miners Guild level goes up by 8 because I add those together. I'm at 5 now, so that goes up to level 13, which is the max. I have maxed this one out, which is great. So that was pretty nice. Put these down here. And I'm in a pretty good position now to possibly take that rift in the 3rd cycle. So with just in cycle 3, and I've got one more turn in cycle 2 here, but in cycle 3 with 2 invade actions, I should easily be able to take that asteroid belt just for the point value. I still think that's worth it. And then I'm kind of getting into position where I could potentially take that rift. So couple of moves there that look good. But let's place this Harbinger here on the economic track. And then that was it here. So we can return this trade token to the Galactic board, and the heroic card goes out of the game. And I'm going to make this ongoing, I think. Yeah, I'll make it ongoing because I think I can get this done in the next turn. So this alert card goes away, and I have to decide if I want to slot this agenda. And I don't have a dominance agenda yet, so I guess I got to map this out real quick to see what's going to score me the most. And I actually think I'm not going to keep it, which is pretty surprising. That's a shock to me, but I think all these will score better, at least now. And the long-term prospects on that one, I'm not so sure if I'm going to get that econ track as high as I want to. So I might go back later and get this agenda that scores on the statecraft track. I usually push econ higher with Fenrax, but no, I don't know if it's going to end up that way this time. So, okay, we are going into turn 5 in this cycle, right? Yes, one more turn. And what am I going to do? What I'd kind of like to do is play Progress and take this invent action and gain improved either cybernetics or arc ships, but that costs 2 science. I've only got 1 science, and if I'm going to do that, I don't want to pair it with this top action to get more science. I'd rather pair it with this bottom action and clear this corruption from that sector by removing the Corvette, but I don't think that's going to happen. Then I kind of thought about playing Temptation and using my preferred focus with Conquest to take over that asteroid belt. That should be fairly easy. And then, I don't know, either of these actions would be good. I could advance a track, which always is helpful. I don't know, both these actions are good, but I don't really want to take the corruption. I've got more corruption than I know what to do with at the moment. Already, these 2 sectors aren't scoring, and I've got 1 on my house mat. So a little bit stuck. I don't think I'm going to take that either. So the thing I'm going to do is play my special development card and pair it with this agenda. And I probably need to take an alert card, huh? So we've got a level 2 alert. Let's get a crisis card. And we've got... what is this? Disharmony and leadership. When you play an agenda card, choose to forfeit taking its action, or you could skirmish. I think I'm safe to skirmish, and I really need that action. So there you go. I think my plan is to take the bottom 2 actions plus this one. So let's start with this middle one. And so I'm spending 1 material, so I go from 4 to 3, and lowering 1 non-home population. So let's decrease this one again from 3 to 2. We'd rather get something down to 2 than get this 4 down to a 3. It's better to be at the low end or the high end. So this goes down to 2, which means production goes down 1. Yep, down 1 for energy, for materials, and for credits. Okay. But now I can build 2 guilds so long as they're not in this sector. And so I'm going to put a farmer's guild here. So with cybernetics, that gives me 2 food. I go from 2 to 4. And because it's a Genesis sector and that's a basic guild type, the population goes up by 1. So now my food level goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's at level 11, yield of 10. And then for my second guild, I'll build this engineers guild in this Genesis sector. So I get 2 energy via cybernetics. And then this goes up to 5. which makes food go up one more time, and energy goes up 1, 2, 3, and it's at its max. All right. So my yields right now are 12, 15, and 12, and I have 4, 4, and 3 in my stockpile. So I am anticipating being able to accomplish this first part of the Galactic event and then producing food, energy, and materials, and overproducing a few times, which will give me some influence as well as help me build a safe haven. And now I'm going to take this bottom action, which costs 1 food and 1 science. I think I'm going to spend I'll spend a food. So I go from 4 to 3 and 1 science from 1 to 0. And now I can deploy and increase population in the same sector. And so I'm going to choose this sector. I'm going to increase the population from 5 to 6. And that makes the food level go up 1. So that's maxed. Energy was already maxed, so I can't raise it again. And then I can deploy there, but I don't think I'm going to. I think it's more valuable for me to keep 1 here on the active area, because then if I attack with a carrier anywhere, I'll have this available. Whereas if I deploy here, well, now I've got to regroup to move things around to get that fleet power where I want it. So that's fine. And now I've increased a pure population from 5 to 6. So this crisis card is solved. And now I will take this agenda action, and I'm going to build a Bankers Guild, and I'm going to put it here. So that's why I increased the population here, because that Genesis effect, sector effect, only works for these basic guild types, not for bankers guilds or scientist guilds. So I wanted to make sure I got this to 6 and had 3 guilds for safe haven purposes. So anyway, put a bankers guild down. Now this level goes up 6 times. So it goes from level 3 to level 9. Getting my yield up to 4, which is what we wanted for that Galactic event. And now I produce credits as well. So I go from 3 to 7. All right. And now, do I want to slot this? That's a question too. And I do have a wealth agenda, so I'd have to swap it with this one. Let's see. Think best case scenario, this one's going to score me 24 for pure sectors. Let's assume that I get the Rift and the Asteroid Belt by the end of the game, and that all my sectors are pure. That would be 2, 4, 6, 8. So 4 pairs of pure sectors, which would score 20. I've got the techs, so that'd be 24. What would this one do? I've got 3 glory tokens, so that's worth 4. And then if I max out my credits, that would be 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. So they've got the same max, but this one depends on how many credits I end the game with, and this one just needs me to have pure sectors. I think I would rather try and purify my sectors than have to have a lot of credits. This lets me spend my credits. So I'll put that on the bottom. And now we need to solve this crisis card. I did not forfeit that agenda action, so I'm going to go ahead and skirmish. And my military track is clear. I've got 1 corruption on my house mat, so we're skirmishing at 1. And in any of the 3 valid sectors, I've got a sector defense, so I win the skirmish. This card goes away. And let's get rid of the alert card. And that was 5 turns in cycle 2. We've got prosperity, politics, conquest, innovation, and development. So now we go into the evaluation phase, and the first step is House Fenrax's house ability. So for each pure sector that I have with 1 or 2 population, I've got 2 of those, 2 pure, 2 population sectors. Each of those gets me 2 credits. So I go from 7 to 8, 9, 10, 11. Do I have any? I don't have any 3s. I have a 4. That gets me 1 science. And then I have a 6. That gets me 2 science. All right. And now we resolve the crisis board. So 1 corruption here, no modifier, and we're doing that skirmish. So the Voidborn are going to have +1 Voidborn fleet power for this skirmish. So we're skirmishing at 2. Again, any of these places where they enter, they're going to lose 1 on the way in. Here, the initiative would be tied, so the Voidborn would they would fire, but the carrier, as a defender, would have 1 salvo absorb and then fire back and win the salvo. So skirmish is good. Now we need to pay the economic track, so 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science. There's the science. Oh, I've got some of these. Great. 1 energy. Do I want to pay a material? Guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, we'll pay the material. I was not going to be able to overproduce this anyway. It was just going to get up to 15, so that's what I was trying to consider. All right, I've paid, I've resolved the crisis board. Oh, I need to do upkeep. I guess I hadn't thought about that. Let me back up a step. Let me pay a credit instead of a material because I might need that. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 upkeep here, plus, let's see, 9, 10, 11. Yowza. Ooh, this is going to be real bad. So food, 1, 2, 3, and then I've got 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 6. That leaves me with 5 unpaid upkeep. Yo! So I lose 3 influence for each of those. So I'm going to lose 15 influence. That hurts. I didn't plan for that very well. Oh boy. And that's going to hurt my overproduction plan. My whole plan here is falling apart. I did not think about that. All right, let's check safe havens. I've got 1 pure sector with 6 population and 3 guilds, so I can build 1 level of safe haven. That's going to go right there. Oh yeah, this is going to hurt. So now we go to the Galactic event. I could gain 10 influence, which I kind of need now because I just lost 15, but I'm also like out of resources. So do I have 3 or more yield from my Bankers Guild? Yes, it's at 4. So I can produce all 3 of these. I thought I'd be getting some overproduction, but I'm not. So I'm going to produce 15 food, 15 energy, and 12 materials. So that's great that I've got a bunch of stuff now. I guess I'll probably overproduce pretty easily now in the next cycle, but I was hoping that would overproduce twice, finish the safe haven now. So that's kind of a bummer. That was just bad planning on my part. And now what do we do? Now we score our agendas, and luckily they're all pure. So let's start with the starting agenda, and let's check which one of these stockpiles is the lowest. It's science. I have 2 science, so 2 times 2 is going to be 4 influence. So that gets me up to 79. Now, 3 influence for every pure sector with a carrier. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. 4 times 3 is 12. 81, 91. And 1 influence for every pure guild. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 92 goes up to 102. This one here, aggregated power sources. Do I have at least 8 yield for energy? Yes, I do. So that gets me to 107. And pairs of pure sectors, 1, 2 pairs. So that's going to be, oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. That was this one. This one is 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 10 influence. I'm at 117. And now this one here, technological singularity. Do I have 4 techs? Yes, I do. 4 or more. So 4 influence for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm at 121. Now it's pairs of pure sectors. 1 pair, 2 pair, 5 per pair. So that's another 10 influence. I'm at 131. Do I have 2 pure engineers guilds and 2 pure miners guilds? Yes, I do. So that gets me 6 influence. So I'm at 137. And 3 influence for every pure sector with a bankers guild. 1, 2. I was hoping to get more than that. So that's 6 influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 143. A little bit ahead of where I like to be, but I could have been further ahead if I had paid my upkeep, believe it or not. Turns out that's an important step. So let me go through the preparation phase again, and I will see you in cycle 3. So stick with me. Here we go. All right, so we're back now, and the 3 heroic focus cards for this cycle are Heroic Temptation, Heroic Leadership, and Heroic Production. I've got the most interest in Leadership. Temptation's pretty good too, though. Not sure if I'm going to do Production or not, but maybe. And then the Galactic event this time is Revenge of the Novarchs. It's going to be 6 turns. The first thing we need to do is add a sector defense to every Voidborn sector with 2 or fewer Voidborn fleet power. So that's going to be this one, this one, this one, and this, basically everything but the Rift that the Voidborn have. So luckily, the Rift and the Asteroid Belt were the only places I was thinking I was going to go. So I don't think this will stop me from doing anything. It's further away than it looks. Okay, and now I need to remove 1 guild. if able, non-home guild. And let's go with this one here, because I don't think I really need it anymore. I'll recalculate, and then I can just slide these over. So that's going to save me an upkeep. So let's get rid of that one. And I should have, let's see, 4, 8, plus 6. Yeah, I've still got maximum energy production, so that doesn't really hurt me at all. The guild just gets me 1 point here, but I've still got enough of the guilds for this agenda here, 2 and 2. So it's 1 point, and it saves me the upkeep, which apparently is a problem for me. So that's not so bad. And now I can move corruption any number of times. And I think I'm going to move this one off this track and onto an agenda slot, believe it or not. And now let's grab the first alert card, or I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So one, I move this here because I think I'm going to get decontamination chambers at some point. So a couple things that I want. I want the improved cloning, and I want decontamination chambers. Improved cloning would allow me to then, if I get it first, advance my statecraft track to here and gain another tech. So I might get cloning with either innovation or progress, and then afterwards use politics to advance this track and get decontamination chambers, which would let me get this back off of here. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. And I want to, if I get cloning first, then I can advance my lowest track twice, and that would be this one. So I want the corruption off of it so I can gain the bonuses of getting a population and getting a guild. So trying to explain a little bit what I'm doing. And then the Galactic event, for each pure track that I have, civilization track at the end of the game, whatever tier it's in, multiply it by 3. So right now this is tier 0, 1, 2. So this would be worth 6 and 3 and 0, so 9 total. My other option is gain 1 influence for every active fleet power and 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. So that second part really just doubles up this scoring condition. So I'd really like to do that. It'd be like scoring that twice. If I can get as much as possible onto the map and get all the corruption out of there, that would be very helpful. So I'm going to need to remove corruption probably twice unless I gain more corruption. So, okay, let's flip over this first alert card. It is a level 3 alert, and we have General Crisis. This is Justified Means. After you gain an improved tech, choose to also decrease non-home pure populations in 2 different sectors. Otherwise, you can consume a basic tech and spend 2 science. That's a little bit harsh, but also I think it kind of works okay for Fenrax and for this particular scenario. Like I could decrease these 2 and it wouldn't have too much of an effect, and I do want to gain an improved tech. And this improved tech, even if I get cloning, would let me increase a pure population first, so the hit wouldn't be too bad. So I think I can probably accomplish this. But unfortunately, my time to play right now is up, so I'm going to set this aside and come back in a few hours and wrap this up. So I'll let this rattle around my head for a little bit, and hopefully I come back with a plan. I will see you then. All right, so I am back again. In the intervening time, I have thought 0 about Voidfall, so we'll see if I can figure out how to pick this up. Just having one of those years. But one thing that I did realize when I came back and I kind of looked around, I raised this population 3 times in that Genesis sector. I'm 100% positive of that in Cycle 2, and I ignored cloning all 3 times when I did it. So that's why I left this die here to remind me that I forgot to take my reward for raising my population 3 times in 1 turn. So I'm going to go ahead and claim that 3 fleet power. 1, 2, 3. That makes a huge difference. That's kind of the whole point of cloning, so let's make sure to use it. And let's get going with the turns. So for my first turn, I'm going to play Prosperity, and I'm going to take the top action and the bottom action. So the order doesn't really matter. I'll start with the top. I need to spend 1 material, and it looks like I left off with a lot of resources. So I've got 12 materials. That goes down to 11. And I advance the economic track now, and I gain a trade token. So take this one. And for the reward, I think I'll probably take 2 science because that's definitely what I have the least of. So my resources right now are 15, 15, 11, 10, and 2. So let's grab a little more science just so I've got the ability to spend that. And now I'll take the bottom action. So I need to deactivate 1 fleet power and spend 1 energy down to 14, 1 material down to 10. And now I can gain an agenda and build an installation. So let's build the installation here with the sector defense in that Genesis sector. That seems like a pretty prudent move. And for the agenda, I think I'm going to take this dominance agenda to score on the statecraft track because I think I can get this one all the way into tier 4. So we'll flip this over. That's probably a good thing to have. So those were my 2 actions, and now I need to place this trade token somewhere. So I'll put it here on this starting agenda. And what am I going to do about this? I think I will make it ongoing, and I'll put it on the military track because I think I could defend against it, and I think on this next turn I'm going to gain an improved tech and just trigger that anyway. So let's grab the second alert card for this cycle. It is a level 2 alert, so now we'll get the crisis. And it's an economic crisis. Increase a population while already having a pure sector with 5 or more population. So that is doable. I've got a pure sector here with 6 population, so all I have to do is increase any other population 1 time, and that one will be handled. So I can probably make that happen. If not this turn, then soon. But for my second card, I'm going to play Innovation. And I'll pair it with this agenda that I just picked up. And I'm going to start with the middle action, Invent. I think I had talked about this before the break here. So spend 2 science. I'm back down to 2. And I've got, at this point, 4 improved techs unlocked, and I've only got 1. So I'm going to grab another improved tech. I'm taking cloning, and that goes here. So now I can ignore the cost of entering tiers 3 and 4 on my civilization track. So we gain 6 influence. I go up from 143 to 149. And now I can advance my lowest track and then advance my lowest track. So let's advance here. And now we can increase a pure population. And let's do this one. We'll go from 4 to, well, maybe we'll do this one because I think it's going to decrease a couple times. We'll go from 2 to 3. Okay, so that makes the materials level go up. So that one's maxed. It makes the credit yield wheel spin 1 time. So at level 10, yield of 4 on credits. And now I just increased a population while having a pure sector with 5 or more population. So that was what this card just asked for, and now I've done it. So that was solved easily enough. And now I can advance a track again, specifically my lowest track. So that's going to be this one. And now I can build a guild. And for this agenda down here, I'm still trying to get a banker's guild in every pure sector where I can. So I'll use arc ships. I've still got another spot to put one here in my home sector. So that increases the yield on my banker's guild 2 more times. So that's at level 12, yield of 6. So it's just 1 shy of being maxed. And with cybernetics, because I just built a banker's guild, I also gained 2 credits. Let's not forget that. So I go from 10 to 12. And so now I've taken all of these actions here. But during that process, I increased my pure population of a sector. So with the regular cloning, just the normal cloning bonus, now I can, because I increased a pure population, either gain a credit or activate a fleet power. So let's take this one and activate again. So that worked out pretty nice. And now, after you gain an improved tech, choose to also decrease pure non-home populations in 2 different sectors. So we'll do that here and here. So this 3 will go to a 2, and this 4 will become a 3. Now we've got to adjust all those productions. So materials and credits each go back down 1. I'll do the math on this and double check in a second here. Okay, yeah, materials and credits are both right. Food, does that go down 1? I should have, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I? Oh, and then I've got this one here. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, this 13 goes down to 12. There we go. And energy, I've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's it for energy. So yeah, this 13 goes down to a 12 as well. Okay, those are all adjusted. So now that crisis is solved as well. So 2 crisis cards with 1 action, that's pretty good. And I've still got another action here on my innovation card. And I'm going to take this bottom one to gain another agenda. So let's spend 1 food, 1 energy, and 1 material. And I think I'll take a wealth agenda just because I'm expecting to play development next, and I'm not sure what else I might play. So let's take a look at these. This one, I do have 2 reclaim tokens, so then I would just score glory. So right now it's worth, what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's not scoring very high compared to this one. This other one, I'm not going to end with 2 trade tokens, I know that. And then each pure sector with no upkeep is worth 3 influence. I don't think that's going to be very helpful either. So I'll keep this one, but I don't expect to slot it after I use it. I'm just going to use the action. So that goes into my hand. So I've done this, and now I can take this invade action. So I am finally going to invade that asteroid belt from the home sector. So I'm going to move this carrier fleet in. On the way in, it's going to deploy one of these cubes as a Corvette, and then that Corvette will be lost to that sector defense. So it'll just come right back here, and that'll be the end of combat. So I won that combat. Let's gain the glory token. So now I've got 8, 9, score 9 glory. So I go from 149 to 158. And I have combat replicator, so I gain a bounty token. So let's get one of these. All right. And we have 2 energy. I've already got 13 energy. I think I'm all set there. So I'm just going to take the 1 influence instead. Go up to 159. And what else? By having the asteroid belt sector, I get to increase my materials and energy production 1 time each. So they both go from 12 to 13, so they're both maxed out again. And I think that's that. So I just need to decide now. I think I want to slot this. The question would be where. So the most it's going to score is 20. If I get statecraft all the way up, this will be 4 times 4 is 16. And if I can make this criteria happen, that'll be another 4. So that's 20. So what are all these worth? This one's probably worth 24 at the end of the game. This one's going to be probably 23, I'll say. And then this one here might be 21. So I guess I'm not going to slot this, which again, pretty surprising. I was confident that I would, but I think I'll score better with all of these. The key is going to be, in order for this one to score better, I've got to get bankers guilds down in both of these sectors and purify them before the end of the game here. So that's it for that turn. Let's get rid of the alert card and draw a new one. We've got a level 3 alert. So we'll get a crisis card, and we've got an economic crisis. It is Rust and Decay. After you gain a corruption, choose to also spend 12 basic resources, so food, materials, and energy in any combination. You may not use credits. That's ridiculous. And then the immediate penalty is I can consume the leftmost improved tech and the basic tech, which seems pretty outrageous to me. So I'll figure this out at the end of the turn, but I'm thinking I'll probably make it ongoing and just leave it. Because if it's ongoing, it's going to cost me 5 influence for the Voidborn at the end of the game. Consuming techs, those are 5 influence each, so that'd be 10 influence. And I certainly don't want to spend 12 resources and take a corruption. At this point, I'm not trying to take any more corruption if I can avoid it. So I don't know, we'll see what we do with that. But for my next card, I'm going to play my special development card and pair it with this agenda. So I don't know if I'm going to do it right away or at all, but I don't want to forget when I play development, because I have the asteroid belt, I have the ability to deploy up to 2 fleet power to the asteroid belt. So I may or may not do that. I haven't decided yet, but I will take this middle action. So I need to spend a material. So I go from 9 down to 8 and decrease a pure non-home population. So let's do this one. Let's take it from 2 down to 1. So that's going to affect materials goes down 1 and credits goes down 1. But now I can build 2 guilds anywhere but that sector. So I suppose I'll put a banker's guild here and a banker's guild here. So because of cybernetics, that gains me 4 credits. 1, 2, 3, and I'm maxed out. That's not overproducing, it's just gaining credits, so the rest is wasted. And now my credit production goes up by 7. I'm already at level 10, so that's just going to be maxed out at level 13. So that's pretty good. Most of my production is maxed or close to it, except for science down here is pretty low. And now I'll take this bottom action, and so I need to spend 1 food and 1 science. Instead of food, I'm going to spend a credit. Bring that down to 14. Spend 1 science. That goes from 2 to 1. And I can deploy a fleet power and raise a pure population in the same sector. So I'm going to do that actually in my home sector. I'm going to deploy a carrier there. So that's going to cost me 1 food, but I will use a credit again from 14 down to 13. And then this population goes from 2 to 3. So what does that do to all those production levels? The science one goes up. That one's easy. Materials goes up. That's maxed. And credits is already maxed. And population went up, so I can either activate a fleet power or gain a credit. So we'll take the credit back. Thank you. So that was through cloning. And I wanted to put that carrier back there just for scoring purposes. I want to make sure I have a carrier in every peer sector. And now I can take this agenda action. So I can build a guild and then produce that type of resource. And so I think I'm going to build a scientist guild. Let's just put that one in my home sector as well. So I've got a couple there. So for building it, I gain 2 science through cybernetics. Now my level goes up 1, 2, 3 times. Now I produce it for 4 science. So I go from 3 to 7. So I'm trying to get all of my resources close to maxed just for the scoring criteria here now that we're in the 3rd cycle. So whatever I have left over after upkeep and the crisis board at the end of the game, when we get to the scoring part, whichever stockpile is my lowest, I get 2 influence per however many are in that stockpile. So science was my lowest. I'm trying to get that boosted a little bit now. Plus, I suppose I will spend some at some point. So that was 1 action, 2 action, plus the agenda action. I know I'm not going to slot this, so we'll put it back at the bottom of this stack here. And what to do about this? I think I'm going to stick with my gut. I don't want a catastrophe for it. I think I'm trying to minimize point loss here. So get rid of that alert card. And that's been 3 turns, I think. 1, 2, 3. Yep, so 3 more in this cycle. Let's draw the next alert card. We're halfway through. And we've got a war card. Okay, so we would have to resolve the crisis board. And when we do the skirmish, the Voidborn have +2 salvo absorption. And if we successfully defend, we have to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So, okay. Oh, shoot. And I mentioned it, and then I forgot. Did I want to deploy to that asteroid belt? And I think yes, but I think only 1 fleet power, and it's going to be a carrier. So let's do that. So that was during development focus. Just forgive me that. I'll spend 1 credit for the carrier cost instead of the food. So, okay, what am I doing on this turn now? I think I'm going to place down my dispersal card in order to take heroic leadership. And I think this is where I'm going to use my trade token as well to take all 3 actions. So let's start with the bottom action. Spend 1 resource of any type. Let's make it a energy. So that goes from 13 down to 12. And then I can either remove a harbinger or I can remove a crisis. And I'm a little tempted to remove this crisis, but I think I'm going to go for the harbinger. I'll just take the 10 points off the map. Now there's no more harbingers. I don't find this too troubling, I don't think. So that's what I'm doing. And now I'll take the middle action. I need to spend a glory token. So I'm going to lose a number 1 glory. And I can remove a corruption and perform an action from a preferred focus. So I'm going to remove this corruption from my house mat. And from a preferred focus, I'm going to use Conquest. I'm going to use this top action here. So I need to spend 2 energy. And, I think I'll spend 2 credits instead, go from 13 down to 11. And I can either invade or regroup. And I'm going to regroup. So I can move 5 fleet power, or I could do 5, single fleet power moves. I think you know what I mean. I'm going to move this fleet power here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have 1 more move left in me, but I don't think I'm going to do any other movements. I think I'm fine with this. So I can put this card back away now. That was just copying that action. And you know what? I'm not going to take this action, actually. I was all geared up for it, but let's save the trade token. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'll just go ahead and accept that I'm not going to finish one of these safe havens. I think if I really stretched, I could have. But I think I'd be completing the safe haven at the cost of closing the rift. And I don't think that's a good deal. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to swap this action here. I'm going to put this Harbinger back on the map. I wasn't thinking ahead. And let's remove this crisis. Reason being, I am going to complete this safe haven one way or another, and I'll just use that action there to remove the Harbinger that way. So I'd rather get rid of the crisis now if I can. So, yeah, my head's a little muddled. It's been a heck of a day, but I think that's what I should do. So That was 2 actions, and I saved my trade token, so I'm not taking a third. There was no agenda, so let's take care of this war card. And I think I will just execute the war card. I'm not taking a catastrophe. So if we resolve the crisis board, I have no corruption here on my house mat, no modifiers here. So we're actually going to skirmish at 0. So even though the Voidborn have 2 salvo absorb, they don't have any fleet power to come in. So now I just need to add 1 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector, and let's go ahead and continue to dump things here. And now I need to spend 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science. I think I will do 1 energy, 1 credit, and 1 science. And that's it for that war card. Let's get rid of it, and we'll get rid of this heroic card. And let's grab the next alert, and it's a level 2 alert, and it's a military crisis, purging storm. Invade from 2 or more different pure sectors. I don't think I'm going to do that. The immediate penalty is I can deactivate 2 fleet power. That's maybe something I would do, actually. Not 100% certain. I might take that penalty. We'll see. But now, at long last, I will play politics, and because I have this trade token, I will use it. I'm using it just so I could cycle it and get another trade token this way. And that'll cost me 1 credit, but I can gain 2 credits, so it's not really that big a deal. So I'm going to start with this top action. So I need to spend 1 science. I go from 6 down to 5. I advance my statecraft track. I feel like I've been working up to this all cycle. So I don't need to deactivate a fleet power because I have improved cloning. So now I just gain a tech, that's the bonus, and I'm taking decontamination chambers. This is going to be my last tech. The immediate, there's no influence on it. The immediate bonus is I can move a corruption. So let's move this one off of this sector and move it onto decontamination chambers, which can store up to 2 corruption. And then in the evaluation phase, we can discard 1 from this card. So there's 1 there. It can hold up to 1 more. That's convenient because if you notice, I only have 1 more. So I'm kind of been working towards that. And now let's take the middle action. So I spend 2 energy and 1 credit. So those are both at 9 now to improve a glory token and invade. So let's swap out this 4 for a 5 because those are always fun to have. And now I can invade, and I'm going to take the rift. So I'm going to split this token up. I'm going to invade with 2 of these carriers and this corvette, and these 2 carriers can each deploy a corvette. So I kind of needed those corvettes, otherwise I might have taken that leadership action to build another level of safe haven, but then I couldn't have deployed as much as I deployed now. So on the way in, there's a sector defense. I'm going to lose a corvette, and now the initiative is 4-3, so I fire first. The Voidborn fire back. I'll lose another corvette. Again, I have the initiative. I fire first. The Voidborn fire back. I'm out of corvettes. Whoops, that one's not mine. And again, another round of salvo. I have the initiative. I fire first, and combat is over. So that rift is closed. So now I can score my glory 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I go from 159 to 168. And the bonus for closing the rift, oh wait, but that was combat, and I won, and I'm the invader, so I also get a bounty token. All right, combat replicators, good job. So let's take one of these, and it's 1 resource of any type. At this point, I think I would have preferred the influence, but I'll take a science. So this goes over here, and now what? I think now I just flip over the rift, and I either get to take 5 resources of any combination, or remove a corruption. I'm going to remove the corruption. Let's take it from this sector here. I think that just gives me more options going forward because I'm thinking I might play Temptation with my last card and then I'll be taking corruption. So if I can get rid of some now, that would be good. I'm making a mess. All right, flip this tile over. And I need to put a pure population there of 1. Neat. Okay, so that was good. That was the second action here, and I've still got 1 action left. And that action lets me gain a trade token. So I gain 1 of these, gain a trade bonus. I don't need to activate any fleet power, so I'll probably take a couple resources. Or you know what, I'm probably better off with a bounty token at this point. Let's take 1 of those. So I might get some influence. Oh, 1 science and 1 influence. Okay, I like getting extra. So 1 science there, I'm up to 7, and 1 influence, 169. And put this bounty token here. Man, I collected a lot of these tokens, huh? Okay, so that was a trade token, and then I can move 1 corruption, but I only have 1, and it's already on my decontamination chamber, so I'm going to leave it there. So this trade token goes back to the Galactic board, and this one gets slotted on one of my agendas. And what do I want to do with this? I'm certainly not going to solve it. And all my sectors are pure. They've all got carriers. I don't see a need to deploy, and I am going to have to fill up safe haven slots anyway. So I'll take this immediate penalty and deactivate 2 fleet power because I don't see needing them going forward any longer. So that crisis is solved. We'll get rid of the alert card, and I've got 1 turn left. Let's take the alert. And it's a level 2 alert, and we have a general crisis. It is forward planning. Gain an agenda while already having 1 or more agenda in hand. This one I have a love-hate relationship with. I sometimes have no problem achieving this, and sometimes, like right now, it's not going to happen. So the penalty is to remove 2 non-home installations. So I don't know if I'll make it ongoing or if I'll take that penalty. I might be able to take the penalty and save myself a couple points because I'm not scoring on installations at all. So as long as I'm not going to lose a sector, that should be fine. So for my last card, I will play Temptation. I'm not going to take the heroic version. I'm just going to take this one, and I'll start with the middle action. So I need to take a corruption as the cost. And so I'll take the corruption and I'll put it here on my decontamination chambers because I can hold 2. And then I can't do the Galactic Peak because there's no cycle 4, but I can advance any 1 track. And so I'll advance the Statecraft track. I have improved cloning, so I don't need to deactivate fleet power. So I go into tier 4. Immediately, if we're going into tier 4, I can build a level of a safe haven. So I'll do this one. And the safe haven's now complete, so I can remove a Harbinger. And I gain 18 influence. So 169, 177, 187. That's pretty decent. And that was this middle action here. So I know going into the evaluation phase, I'm going to build 1 level of safe haven for this sector here. And if I had built one, what I was kind of considering when I had that leadership card was just building another one for free. So that would have been a 2nd level. And then if I took this action here, I could produce 2 different resources, and surely I could overproduce 2 different resources and build a 3rd level of safe haven and complete it. But then I wouldn't have had enough fleet power to attack and take the rift. And that's additional 10 points. I'd rather get the rift at that point. So because I've only got so many actions, I've only got 1 action left. So I'll be able to build 1 level of safe haven because of this. I could, in theory, overproduce twice, but then that would be it. I'm never going to complete that safe haven. So with that being the case, it's probably not worth it to take this action because I have nowhere else to gain the corruption except for here on my house mat. So I'd probably put it on this lowest tier civilization track, and that would be fine. It would be 2 points for the Voidborn at the end, and that would be negated by the fact that I could deploy a fleet power and produce twice, and overproduce twice. So it would give me 8 influence. I guess I'm just min-maxing out loud now. So I would gain, by getting another fleet power out on the map, that would be 2 influence. Overproduced twice would be another 6. So that'd be 8, but introducing the corruption would cost me 2. So that'd be a net of 6 influence. Whereas if I do Temptation and copy something from a preferred focus, I would probably copy from development. And so I could do something like I could build a couple of guilds, which would score some points, especially if I got a banker's guild down there. That could be up to 4 points. Interesting. I guess maybe it is worth it to take that corruption. So that's what I'll do, because I could also copy from my other preferred focus, Conquest, but I don't need to gain an agenda, and I don't need to activate fleet power, and I don't need to regroup. So all that would really get me is an invade action, and I don't see any invades that make any sense to me on this map. So, okay, there you go. This is what we're doing. I hope that was enlightening, trying to think out loud a little bit, just to give you more insight into my decision making. So I'm going to gain this corruption here. And so I can activate a fleet power, doesn't really matter. Deploy a fleet power to my home sector. And in this case, it doesn't matter what kind of fleet power it is. As long as there's fleet power on the map, I score. So let's just do a carrier, save myself 1 resource. or I'm sorry, a Corvette. A Corvette. Save myself a resource instead of a carrier. And now I can produce 2 different resources. And so I've got 14 food, 9, 8, 9, 7. If I'm trying to maximize this scoring thing, like 7's kind of the floor right now. I know I'm going to need to spend a bunch on upkeep. Maybe I can spend some of these on upkeep, a little less efficient, but to try and keep everything above 7. So I'm going to produce these 2. They both produce 15. I'm at 9 and 8. So they are both maxed. They've both overproduced. So each of those overproductions will get me 3 influence. So 187 goes up to 88, 89, and 90, 91, 92, 93. And I can build 1 level of safe haven, but I'll just pass. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, there's nothing to be gained for me to place the 1 fleet power there. So I'm just going to leave it active. I'm going to decline to take that bonus. And depending on how this Galactic event turns out at the end, I might actually score 1 point by having that there. So I'll leave it there. And now that's all of these actions. So I think I can get away with paying this penalty so that it's not ongoing, so I don't lose the 5 points for this. So if I get rid of 2 sector defenses from non-home sectors, it would be this one and this one, because I've got 2 fleets here, and they've each got a salvo absorb. And I'm only going to be skirmishing at 2, because I've got 1 corruption here, no modifiers here, these don't count, and then 1 additional up there. So removing 1 and 1, I should still be fine. So I'm going to do that. All right, and now I can wipe these. And we can go into the evaluation phase. What a game this has been. So we start with this for Fenrax. So let's count up how many pure sectors do I have with 2 or less population. And I've got this one has 1 and is pure, this one has 1 and is pure, and the asteroid belt has less than 2. It has 0. It has no population, so that counts as well. So I gain 2, 4, 6 credits from there, and then 1 additional credit for every 3 pop pure sector. I've got 1, 2, 3 of those. So that gets me 9 credits in total, and I have 9, so I think this is going to max out at 15. Yep, so I've got maximum credits. Basically, I've got 14 food, 15 energy, 15 materials, 15 credits, and 7 science, which is about to go up as well. So I've got a pop 4 and a pop 6 sector. So that's going to get me 1, 2, 3 science. So it goes from 7 to 10. And now we resolve the crisis board. So we're going to skirmish at 1 plus that modifier of 2. So again, 2 fleet power if they come in here. I've got 2 salvo absorb. So we've got equal initiative. We fire at the same time, but I absorb and they lose a fleet power. And then in the second round of the salvo, I've got more initiative, so I fire first and eliminate the Voidborn. Similar scenario in both of these spaces. If they come in with 2, they lose 1 on the way in, and then it's 1-to-1 initiative-wise. But again, I have a salvo absorb, and they do not, so I fire, destroy the Voidborn, and absorb their return fire. This sector is just like this one, so they're not going to take that sector. And this is not a valid target. That's not adjacent to any Voidborn sectors. They can't invade the home sector or the asteroid belt. So there you go. I've won the skirmish, and now I just need to pay a material and a science and an energy. And I'm going to pay the 1 science, so it goes from 10 to 9. And then the rest I'm going to pay with credits. So that goes down to 13. Now I need to pay for upkeep. And I've got 2, 4, 6 from agendas. And then 7, 8, 9, 10. Not as bad as I thought it would be. So I've got 14 food. I don't want to spend all food. I don't want to go below 9. So what did I say? I've got 10 upkeep. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gets me down to 9. And then we'll start spending pairs of energy and material, which are both at 15. So I guess I've got to spend both of those down to 10. There we go. So my upkeep satisfied. I've got 9, 10, 10, 13, 9. So in that way, I was able to maximize my scoring here. And I kind of talked about that a little bit at the very beginning of the game, that might happen at the end. So now you've seen that. And now I do have a pure sector with 6 population and 3 guilds, so I could build a level of safe haven, but I'm going to decline to do that. And now let's evaluate the Galactic event. So I've got 2... Oh, and I can I guess remove one of these. That does matter. During the evaluation phase, remove one corruption from this card. That will be a couple points off of the Voidborn score, so let's not forget. So evaluate the event card. For each of these pure tracks, it's 3 influence times the tier. So this is tier 2, this is tier 4, so that would be 18 total influence. Or I could gain 2 for each pure fleet power in the map, plus 1 for this active fleet power. So I've got 11 fleet power on the map. That would be 22 influence, plus 1 would be 23. So yeah, let's do that one. Let's take 23 influence. So I go from 193 to 196, 206, 216. Pretty good score before doing the agendas. But let's work our way through these. They're all pure, so this is going to be pretty good. So first, we'll take a look again at my resource board here. Whatever, if I look at all my stockpiles, whatever is the lowest resource, which is a tie between food and science, are both at 9, take that number times 2. So 9 times 2 is 18 influence. Pretty good. 18. So I'm at 216. Let's go down to 214, 224, 234. And now 3 influence for every peer sector with at least 1 carrier. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 peer sectors with carriers. So 8 times 3 is going to be 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20. So I'm at 258. And now 1 influence for every pure guild that I have. So how many of those have I got? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Man, that's huge. So 17, this will go 1, 2, 3, 10, 20. Okay, so I'm at 275. This is going pretty well. Do I have at least 8 energy yield? I know that I do, so that gets me another 5. It gets me up to 280. And now again, 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. I think I had 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 22 influence, which gets me up to 302. And I have at least 4 techs. So that's 4 influence. It gets me up to 306. And then every pair of pure sectors I have is 5 influence. So I've got 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair, and 4 pair. They're all pure. So that's 20 influence. 10, 20. That gets me to 326. And this last one, I've definitely got 2 pure engineers guilds, 2 pure miners guilds. So that's 6 influence. So 332. And finally, 3 influence for every pure sector with at least 1 banker's guild. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 3 is going to be another 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 347. I was trying to do the math earlier in the game on whether or not I would keep this card, and I think it was worth it. I think I just scored 21 on it, and the most I could have scored with the other card I was looking at was 20. But there was potential to maybe get a Banker's Guild up there too. I didn't make that happen, but that's okay. So final score of 347 for the narrator. That is a pretty excellent score. There are certainly people who score higher than that with Fenrax and carriers than I just did, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think I've got a win here. So we're on hard mode. We're starting, according to that card, at 140 for the Voidborn. There is no Rift. There's 1 incomplete safe haven, so that's going to be 20 points, up to 160. There's 1 catastrophe token, so that's another 20 influence, up to 180. No harbingers left on the map. No consumed techs. No ongoing crises. No fallen house. So now we count up all of the corruption in the game. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each of those is worth 2. So that's going to be 12. So 192. And then population in Voidborn sectors. So we've got 3, 6, 9, and then 5 is going to be 14. 1, 2, 3, 4. Final score for the Voidborn of 206. So that's a pretty significant gap. Just beat the Voidborn by 141. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that on hard mode. And hopefully you feel pretty good about watching it. So Let me know what you think in the comments. I know at parts it was a little disjointed. I had to sit down and play this in 3 different sections today. It's been, if you haven't gathered, a wild time in my house. So apologies for a little bit of the wackiness there, but hopefully this was still a fun playthrough to watch. It was definitely a fun one for me to play. So thanks again for requesting it, and I expect next month I'll definitely play the next scenario, but I'll probably play Novarchs because I don't think I've played them on the channel yet. And since I don't know, I used a lot more cybernetics than combat replicators, so maybe I'll use, I don't know, you let me know in the comments. Would you rather see me start with cybernetics or combat replicators? And then maybe I can plan on that. I won't know until I edit this, but hopefully the additional sort of thinking out loud and strategizing and trying to explain why I was making the choices I was making, hopefully that doesn't add too much length to the video, but I hope it gives a little bit of insight and helps you with your own plays of Voidfall. So any other requests or questions or commentary on this video, just leave it below in the comments. I'll be sure to read it and respond. Otherwise, if you'd like to support the channel, I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, leave a like on the video, share it, and don't forget you can always head over to my Ko-fi page, ko-fi. There's a link in the description. You can drop me a couple bucks. It'll help keep the channel running. And if you're really into Voidfall, check out some of these upgrades on Etsy. So the link is in the description. It's Brain Bucket Games. If you send us a message on Etsy, there's like a 90% chance that I'll be the one who responds. So you can always say hi over there too. But that's what I've got this time on table for one. I had an awesome time. I truly did. I hope you did too. And I will see you in the next video. Take it easy.